Swordsmanship according to an older scroll, which I'll go into the end, so if you want to see which scroll it's from, wait to the end, but here we go. And I'm going to do them in reverse order, and you'll see why. So, principle number 5, the enemy is in Daijodan, the enemy is up here. So what I'm doing, it doesn't say what I'm in, when I wait there, they come in Daijodan, I take a step back, I go to take a second step back, and when they approach, I will cut in. So the way that would look is the enemy is in Daijodan, I would step back, I would go to step back, but then cut through. Okay, one more time. The enemy is in Daijodan, I step back, I look to step back, but instead I look forward. Because the enemy is coming down this way, I'll be able to come across their arms. The fourth principle is when you're in Chudan. So you're in Chudan, and you're probably both in Chudan. And the idea is that it's a stalemate, but it says the moment the enemy advances, just rush in. So he goes to advance, just rush in. So you've got to wait for that moment for him to step. So the minute he steps off, you want to rush at him, and so he's like, whoa, come back, okay? So this, it doesn't really say much beyond that. You're both there, you're stalemated, you're waiting, you see him advance. The third principle of swordsmanship is when you go together. What you do is you drop your sword together and you step back. And the moment the enemy come in, you step back, thrust in. So they think you're going to go back, you're going back. And instead, in the other principle, we did one, and the second step was then an attack. This principle is one step and thrust. It's a thrust, not attack. So we get on, thrust. So we step back, thrust. Yep. So from this side. The second principle is not actually about sword fighting per se. What it is before the enemy are ready, so something's happened, before the enemy are ready, just cut them down. They're not quite ready, something's gone on. It's that moment before everybody reacts. You're out and you cut them down and they're dead. So you don't let them have time. Now number 1, and this is the reason I'm doing it in reverse order, is because you'll see it go now. Number 1 is when there's an enemy there, you have to imagine their sword getting smaller. So there's nothing I can show you this, it's a psychological advantage. Like you just imagine the enemy is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And this is how it works then in the correct way. So the enemy's swords are about, you just imagine the swords are small and you're going to kill them. This could be battlefield, this could be just in a group combat, it could be a single combat. That's the first principle. The second principle is the moment you've clocked your enemy, you just jump in and kill them before they've even thought about it. You can see in their mind they're not quite ready, you just cut and they go down. However, if you get to the third principle and you're both facing off from each other, it starts in Gedan. So the first principle of actual fighting, which is the third principle, is drop to Gedan, step back, thrust. Yeah? Drop to Gedan, step back, thrust. Drop to Gedan, thrust. And remember, the enemy will be on you. I'll probably do this again when Marcus arrives. The next one is Chudan, and this is basically the moment the enemy advances, just charge him. Obviously you're going to have to think about blocking, defending, but the point is you've both gone off, you're stalemating, he's about to go, you just charge. And then you then create swordsmanship from there. And the next one is Jodan. When the enemy is in Daijodan, remember Jodan, Chudan, Gedan are very fluid, but when they're in Daigo up here, yeah, what you're looking to do is step back, pretend a second step, and then leap and cut. So they're coming from above, basically. You're looking up because their sword is up here, and you go feint, second, cut. Feint, second, cut. That's different to this one, thrust. Yep. What we don't know is how many steps they do. In one of them it says one step and a second. On the thrust one, what we're not sure of is step, and you could move in like this. The thrust could be straight, it could be side on, doesn't really matter as long as you get them in the guts. So what I'll do now is I'll tell you about where that information is from.
Just before I tell you, please get yourself a copy of How to Be a Modern Samurai and help support this channel. Now, this is the books it's from. They're transcriptions of old scrolls. It has a connection to the Kuki family and indirectly Takamatsu and the Bujinkan. And the person who sent me this has asked me to be asked to be anonymous. So basically, we can't really verify how old it is. It is said that the oldest transcription, or sorry, the transcription we have is 1800s, but it's meant to be a transcription of a 1300s text. But I've had someone look at this and they said it sounds Edo period. It sounds like it's Edo period, or at least it's been changed in the Edo period. So here are the basics. It doesn't say Jodan, Chudan, Gedan. It uses like earth stance and the stance of human. So basically, earth stance is putting your sword to the ground. Human stance is at the same level as humans, and then it says Dai Jodan, so up in the air. But basically, we are unsure. So it could be a 1300 scroll, but it's the oldest version we have is the 1800s, and it does sound a little bit Edo period. And we do know that this sort of stuff was messed around with in the 20th century, and the Kuki family have been, you know, some of their stuff has been moved around, messed around, and we're not so sure. So we don't really know how old this is, but I think we can confidently say it's Edo period, or at least late Edo period. So it's not old enough really for my project, but it's something that we're worth looking into. So thank you very much to the gent who sent that. And don't forget, when you buy my books, you really do help out the channel. Most of my income comes from the book, so crack on and get a copy.